Thank you for tuning in to Live Bible Reading Ministry. Minister Junior Mendez coming to you live streaming from Niagara Falls, New York. Today we're going to get into the second book of Kings. But before I go into what's coming up, let me take some time out to just give thanks to Almighty God. Thank Him for waking me up this morning and each and every morning, putting food on the table, taking care of family, taking care each time I go in the streets to work, to church, visits, take me back home safely. And I'm so thankful. Thank Almighty God. May the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, Father. May it also be acceptable to those who are listening, people who engage into live Bible reading ministry group. Thank you so much for watching each and every time you see live Bible reading ministry. Thank you for liking and sharing. I appreciate that. So we're going to give you an overview what's gospel or live Bible reading ministry is about. It's really about telling you a story in the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, because this is a story that's been told for many, many thousands of years, all the way back from creation. Minister Junior Mendez is a minister of the Church of Christ, present to you live Bible reading each night at 10 o'clock, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, coming to you live each and every night. Sometime you see us on Facebook or on Twitter. And I thank you all very much for tuning in and listening to the Bible so far. We start from Genesis and we're going all the way to the book of Revelation. And as soon as you start reading the Bible, you start falling asleep because it's kind of boring and maybe you don't understand what's going on. So you need someone to kind of explain it to you or to read it for you. But we presenting it not just reading, but it's actually like a script, the Bible script, verse by verse, line by line. We're going chapter by chapter. We're going all the way to the book of Revelation. So right now we're in the second book of Kings. We're talking about kings, the kings of Israel, kings of Judah. These are God's chosen people. So when we started out back in July, we started from Genesis, creation. Oh, man came about, so we follow all the way through, coming down to enslavement in Egypt. 430 years, they haven't heard nothing at all about God. They know there was going to be a Messiah coming or someone to deliver them. But many of them, after Joseph died out, and they keep their hopes alive. These are the Hebrew people. There was the Hebrew people before they become known as the Jews. But these are called the children of Israel. Jacob, 12 sons. They became children of Israel. And each son, the name of each son represents something in this life. Like, for example, the name Judah. Judah is the scepter tribe, the tribe where the kings supposed to come through. Levi is the priest. The priest would come through Levi, the Levites, and so on. So Benjamin and Judah, they were the kings of southern Israel. Other kings were in the north. The 10 tribes was in the north, in Samaria. But in the southern part of Israel, there was the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin, which remained after the 10 tribes in the north taken into captivity by the Assyrians. So the Assyrian came down and took the children of Israel, the lost 10 tribes, because they never returned to their land in Samaria or northern Israel. So the last 2 tribes, Benjamin and Judah, remained in southern Israel. Altogether, there was 20 kings in the north. None of them was good. And then there was 20 kings in the south. Only 8 of them was good. And when I say good, they obey God's command and his law and try to live up to the best of their ability. Worship in the temple, get rid of all idols, stop commit adultery and fornication, idolatry. That was one of the main reasons why God was upset with the children of Israel. Because when they came into the promised land, they were supposed to drive out all these other nations out of their land. They were supposed to wipe out everything and take the land. But what happened was they spared these people, these other nations. And they was there with their gods. These other nations worship other gods. And God told them to drive out all these people when they come into the land of Canaan, the land that God promised to Abraham. Now, as time goes on, the Jews, the Israelites, become to mingle into marriage, into worship their gods, instead of letting them know that we have our own gods that we got to worship and serve. But they fall in love with other nations. So you got interracial marriage. And that was an abomination, because God wanted to keep his people separated from all the rest of the nation, all the other Gentiles nation. God wanted to keep his people separated under their own laws, under their own kings. You see, the people, you remember back in Samuel, Saul was the first one who was chosen or selected to be the first king of Israel. He was anointed and blessed and ordained by Samuel, but Saul disobeyed God. Saul, when he go out and capture and conquer, he tried to keep all the good stuff for himself and for his military, instead of burning it and getting rid of all their idols. Saul turned away, and God had to remove him from out his position as king, because he did not follow God's command. That one time Samuel said to him, God rather obedience than sacrifices, because Saul started to make sacrifices which was not for him to do, because he was supposed to be a king. And the thing about it, I think that king was from a different tribe. It wasn't from the tribe of Judah. Forgot which tribe Saul was from. I believe it was Benjamin tribe. I'm not so sure. But Saul was not from the tribe of Judah. So now, in the book of Ruth, remember Boaz and Ruth got together, and they have son, and their grandchildren came up to be David, or Jesse. And then Jesse is the father of David. And David came in as a second king. But most of the first 10 years he was running for his life, hiding from Saul. Saul was trying to get him because Saul was jealous. The people liked David more than Saul. There was a saying that say, Saul killed 1,000, but David killed 10,000. And Saul didn't like that. Now, you came up to King David, and after King David, you got King Solomon, David's son, that he had with Bathsheba. The first son, when David committed abomination and killed Uriah, that which was Bathsheba's husband, that first child, God have to take him out, because the way he came about was because of David's iniquity, sin.